In lieu of.
何々の代わりに
You can take a lump sum in lieu of any unused vacation entitlement. In no way.
決して何々でない。
She added that she had in no way intended to offend anybody. Inadvertent.
不注意な、不慮の
All authors need to be wary of inadvertent copying of other people's ideas. Incarcerate.
監禁する、閉じ込める。
The police are going to incarcerate the man who keeps committing acts of violence. Incarnadine.
真紅の、肉色の
I needed to find incarnadine tights so that it would appear the same color as my shirt. Incarnate.
体現させる、具体化する。
The dark portrait seemed to incarnate all the evil the artist saw in the world. Incendiary.
放火の、扇動的な
Although the investigation indicated the arsonist must have used some kind of incendiary device to start the fire, the police could find no traces of it. Incense.
怒らせる、激怒する。
The offensive article about racism is sure to incense many minority groups. Inchoate.
初期の、不完全な
Since the power went out in the building, the electrical service has been inchoate, leaving many floors without lights. Incipient.
初期の、始まりの
The best way to stop the disease from spreading is by identifying it while it is incipient. Incite.
刺激する、扇動する。
The ads were trying to incite public opinion against the government. Incompetent.
無能な、無資格の
The robber was so incompetent that he locked himself in the bank vault. Incomprehensible.
理解できない、不可解な。
The ideas she espoused were incomprehensible to me. Inconceivable.
想像もつかない、信じがたい。
It is inconceivable that the young boy walked 20 miles without shoes in freezing weather. Incongruous.
調和しない、不適当な。
The statement you gave yesterday is incongruous to a witness's statement. Inconsequential.
取るに足らない、重要でない。
Your objections are inconsequential and may be disregarded. Incorporate.
合併させる、組み込む。
In order to provide a complete report, Henry and his staff incorporate the graphs and charts into the written text. Inculcate.
教え込む、吹き込む。
The goal is to inculcate in students a tolerance for people of other religions and races. Inculpate.
罪を負わせる、咎める。
Evidence was used to inculpate the suspects and lead to their eventual conviction. Incursion.
侵入、侵略。
The incursion of white flies into the area could damage crops. Indebtedness.
恩義、負債。
The company has reduced its indebtedness to $15 million. Indecipherable.
解読できない、判読できない。
The indecipherable letters on the scroll were written in a language that has been extinct for 1,000 years. Indefatigable.
疲れ知らずの、根気強い。
The director of the hurricane evacuation shelter is an indefatigable woman who works almost 18 hours every day. Indemnify.
保証する、償う。
Since he was driving drunk, the insurance company will not indemnify him from the property damage he caused. Indeterminate.
不確定の、未決定の
An indeterminate number of workers have already been exposed to the danger. Indictment.
起訴、告発。
Based on the new evidence presented by the defense, the judge dismissed the indictment and released the accused. Indifference.
無関心、重要でないこと。
Some native speakers of a language show indifference to grammatical points. Indigence.
貧困、困窮。
High medical costs are a significant cause of indigence for many of the elderly who are living in poverty. Indoctrinate.
教え込む、吹き込む。
The cult leader will indoctrinate his followers with his beliefs. Indolent.
怠ける、怠惰な。
Jackson lost his job because he was an indolent employee who often slept at his desk. Ineffectual.
効果のない、無力な。
Once I realized the medicine was ineffectual, I stopped taking it. Ineluctable.
不可避の、避けられない。
The accident was the ineluctable consequence of carelessness. Inept.
不適当な、不向きな。
He was criticized for his inept handling of the problem. Ineptitude.
不適当、馬鹿げた行為。
Because of his ineptitude, he lost his job. Inert.
鈍い、不活発な。
Since my wounded dog is inert, I have to lift him up and put him in the car. Inestimable.
計り知れない、非常に貴重な。
It's impossible to define the inestimable role police officers play in keeping society safe. Inexorable.
冷酷な、無情な。
The public is enraged by the inexorable rise in gas prices. Infallible.
誤りのない、確実な。
The arrogant professor believed he was infallible on the subject of geology. Infelicitous.
不運な、不幸な。
It is a little infelicitous that many children cannot go to the swimming pools because of the sudden storm. Infest.
横行する、はびこる。
The barn was infested with rats. Infinitesimal.
微小の、非常に少ない。
All living organisms produce electrical impulses on an infinitesimal scale. Infirmity.
虚弱、病弱。
The doctor warned her that her physical infirmity would get worse if she did not mind her diet. Inflict.
損害を加える、苦しめる。
Our troops will inflict hefty casualties on their foes. Infraction.
違反、侵害。
He was criticized for his infraction of the discipline. Infringe.
法を犯す、権利を侵害する。
He occasionally infringes the law by parking near a junction. Infuse.
教え込む、注入する。
A union would infuse unnecessary conflict into the company's employee relations. Ingenious.
器用な、巧妙な。
Our captain's ingenious plan would allow us to sneak around the enemy and capture the objective without a fight. Ingenuity.
発明の際、うまさ。
When Jack fixed the Jeep, his friends were impressed with his mechanical ingenuity. Ingenuous.
淡白な、純真な。
Jessica's ingenuous nature made her an easy target for the con man. Ingrate.
恩知らずの人、感謝知らずの人。
After the singer refused to accept the award, she was called an ingrate by many of her peers. Ingratiate.
気に入られようとする、取り入ろうとする。
Since the new teacher failed to ingratiate herself with the students, she found it hard to maintain an orderly classroom. Inherent.
固有の、本来の。
The dark color of the table is an inherent trait of the wood from which it was made. Inimical.
有害な、敵意のある。
Although I attempt to avoid the school bully, he always goes out of his way to be inimical to me. Iniquity.
不正、非道。
The writer reflects on human injustice and iniquity. Injustice.
不公平、不正行為。
The American Revolution started because of a perceived injustice in the taxes levied by England. Innocuous.
無害の、悪意のない。
Some mushrooms look innocuous but are in fact poisonous. Innuendo.
風刺、当てこすり。
The top advertisers frequently use a form of innuendo to sell their products. Inoffensive.
害にならない、悪気のない。
He seemed like a quiet, inoffensive sort of a guy. Inopportune.
不都合な、折の悪い。
The phone's inopportune ringing interrupted our conversation. Inordinate.
過度な、無秩序な。
I spend an inordinate amount of time selecting Christmas presents for my large family every year. Inquest.
審問、評決。
The judge ordered an inquest after several family members requested the murder be investigated further. Inquisition.
調査、取り調べ。
The police subjected him to an inquisition that lasted 2 hours. Inscrutable.
不可解な、謎めいた。
Because my boss normally had an inscrutable look on his face, I rarely knew what he was thinking. Insensible.
無感覚の、無頓着な。
She remained insensible of the dangers that lay ahead. Insensitive.
無感覚な、鈍感な。
Her husband tends to be insensitive, never caring much about her emotional needs. Insidious.
狡猾な、先行性の。
After the police conducted their investigation, they realized the suspect had created an insidious scheme by which he tricked elderly people out of their medications. Insinuate.
遠回しに言う、徐々に入り込む。
During the debate, the senator tried to insinuate his opponent was not qualified for office. Insipid.
味がない、気の抜けた。
The soup lacks the right seasoning and tastes insipid. Insofar.
その限りにおいて、その程度まで。
The warning signs on the road prevent accidents only insofar as people pay attention to them. Insolent.
横柄な、無礼な。
When the insolent young man yelled my name, I ignored him and walked towards my car. Insouciant.
無頓着な、のんきな。
Because he is insouciant and not concerned about his retirement, he does not worry about saving money. Instigate.
扇動する、そそのかす。
Hopefully, the Red Band campaign will instigate a greater awareness of cancer prevention. Insulate.
絶縁する、孤立させる。
You can insulate a house against heat loss by having the windows double glazed. Insuperable.
乗り越えられない、無敵の。
The difficulties that confront us seem insuperable. Insurmountable.
克服できない、追い越せない。
Even though the task of cleaning out the garage seemed insurmountable, she had the place spotless and ready for her new car by Monday. Insurrection.
反乱、暴動。
During the insurrection, several convicts held a prison doctor hostage. Intangible.
無形の、実体のない。
While emotions can be expressed, they are intangible because they cannot be physically touched. Integrity.
誠実、無傷。
Because the politician was considered a man of integrity, most of the people voted for him in the last election. Inter.
埋める、埋葬する。
We decided to inter my son's dead bird near the apple tree. Interdict.
禁止する、阻止する。
Because I failed most of my classes last term, my parents will probably interdict me from working this semester. Interlocutor.
対話者、対談者。
The actor is a poor interlocutor who usually responds to media queries with one-word responses. Interlude.
合間、幕合い。
We exited the theater during the short interlude to purchase something to eat. Internecine.
共倒れの、内部抗争の。
When the internecine war was over, both nations were left in ruins. Interplay.
相互作用、交錯。
Our personalities result from the complex interplay between our genes and our environment. Interpolate.
補完する、書き入れる。
Today, many singers interpolate their own words and music into classic songs in order to create new tunes. Interregnum.
空白期間、空位期間。
During the interregnum, the people worried that the incoming ruler would treat them differently than the previous king. Intervention.
仲裁、干渉。
Our nation's intervention in another country's war could pull us into the crisis. Intestine.
内部の、体内の。
Stomach and intestine problems are the most common issues that people currently face. Intimate.
親しい、密接な。
Because I am a private person, I do not like to share intimate details about my home life. Intracellular.
細胞内の。
Intracellular toxins affect the organelles and other substances inside of a cell. Intractable.
手に負えない、扱いにくい。
We are facing an intractable problem. Intransigent.
妥協しない、頑固な。
If the politicians do not change their intransigent attitudes, they will not pass any bills during this session. Intrepid.
勇敢な、大胆な。
To be an astronaut, you must be an intrepid person who craves adventure and is not afraid of heights. Introspective.
内観的な、内省的な。
The introspective artist was always questioning his own painting skills. Inundate.
水浸しにする、殺到する。
If the dam breaks, it will inundate large parts of the town. Inure.
苦痛に慣れさせる、鍛える。
Raising 3 dramatic daughters will inure you to temper tantrums. Invective.
非難、罵り。
The newspaper's invective of the novel really made the author angry. Inveigh.
激しく非難する、罵る。
Because one politician chose to inveigh on the subject of immigration for an hour, the debate went on all afternoon. Inveigle.
おびき寄せる、誘い込む。
Rick tried to inveigle his parents into giving him the money for buying a new car. Investiture.
授与、任官。
The investiture of the new president will take place this evening.